If you watched the last two videos in our fall garden series, you know what you can grow in fall, how to plan the garden space, and how to prepare your soil. Now we have to talk about timing. In fall, timing is more crucial than at any other time of year. And not adhering to this timing is one of the biggest fall garden mistakes you can make. In this video, I'm going to break it down into some simple steps so you don't have to make mistakes. So in our last video, we talked about planning out the fall garden on paper, and we talked about getting the soil ready. And if you haven't seen that video, make sure you go back and watch it. I'll link it up here and down in the video description. Now we need to talk about the timing of your fall planting and how it differs from spring planting. We discussed in one of the previous videos about how to find your first average frost date, and I'll link that down in the video description. Let me know in the comments what your first frost date is, and let me know where in the world you are. Now, in the spring, you need to know your last frost date, or when it's safe to start growing outside. And you can wait for that date and direct sow in the garden, or you can start your seeds inside 4 to 6 weeks before that date and then move them outside after that date. It's pretty straightforward. Now in the spring, the problem comes later when pests, disease, and the heat strikes. In fall gardening, we don't have as many pests, diseases, or heat, but it's a little trickier to get things going. And that's because in the spring, the days continually get longer and warmer as the weeks go on. In the fall, however, it's just the opposite. The days get shorter and cooler as the weeks go on. So that affects the speed that the plants will grow. They may not go from seed to harvest in the amount of time that the seed packet says they will, because that's usually based on spring planting. Hang with me, I'm going to simplify all this. So this package of beets says it's going to take 60 days seed to harvest in the spring. But we have to add a fall delay to that number. 2 weeks is usually a good rule of thumb. So instead of 60 days like the package says, it's going to be about 74 days. We're adding 14 days onto whatever the packet says. Does that make sense so far? Okay, let's say your first average frost date is October 15th. Now, counting backward from October 15th, we should have sown these seeds mid-August. Now, this isn't a perfect way of doing things. There is no perfect way of doing things. Now, most cool season crops can take frosts and even snow. Most can't take a freeze. So unless your first frost comes with a freeze, you can add some time on there. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 4. If you go back to the first video I did in this series, I'll link it down below, I went through what you can grow in the fall and how long they need to grow before harvest and what temperatures they can take. Now, if you find that certain things should have already been planted, like the beets, you have 3 options. Number 1, do nothing. You'll get nothing, but that's an option. Option 2 is to sow the seeds anyway and keep a journal or a log. This is going to help you from year to year to know when you need to sow certain things based on your exact weather. So my recommendation is sow the seeds, just go for it, and keep notes. The worst thing that can happen is a freeze comes in and kills your crops before they're ready to harvest. You still had some time in the garden and you have that info in your journal to help you next year. The third option is to get transplants from the garden center. Yes, you have less variety to choose from, but that's okay. Growing from transplants will take 3 to 5 weeks off of the timeline for that crop. They'll be ahead because they're already growing, and you're getting them into the ground early to enjoy whatever warmth remains of late summer. So that is going to move them forward much, much faster. Again, with the transplants and with everything in the garden, keep notes. It will help you every single year, and every single year as you compare back, your time frames are going to get tighter and tighter, and you're really going to know what you're doing and when you need to plant, no matter what I say. Now, there are other things you can do to extend your season. You can use fleece or floating row covers on your plants. That can keep the inside nighttime temperature 5 to 10 degrees warmer than outside. I'll put Amazon links to these products down in the video description. Another thing you can do, it's a little more work, but you can make a mini hoop house on your raised beds or over an in-ground bed. This is a hoop house over a raised bed that I made for the School of Traditional Skills. If you've been watching me the last few months, you know that I'm a part of an exciting new online school teaching traditional skills to help people become more self-sufficient. I'll leave a link down below for that. There is an inaugural summit coming up on September 12th through the 15th. It's totally free, and all the speakers that are teaching all the classes for the school are going to be there those 3 days to answer all your questions live. So my personal time slot is September 13th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be on there for 2 hours answering your questions, but you do have to sign up, so I will put the link down below. And then all the sessions will be recorded for playback later if you're at work during that time or can't make it for whatever reason. Anyway, something like this hoop house can raise the daytime and nighttime temperatures quite a bit. And one of these two options, either the fleece or the hoop house alone, can quite possibly give you weeks or even months extra time depending on your climate. And capitalizing on the fact that most cool season crops can live through frost and snow, you should be okay in most climates. Getting started now and either starting with seeds or transplants, I'm going to leave that up to you. So that all should give you a good idea of when you should plant or sow your fall crops. However, fall throws another curveball in here. If you live in a climate where it's still warm, I mean, here we are in, it's almost 100 right now. I'm sweating. And it's going to be in the 90s for the next week or so. If you are still warm like this, cool season crops are not going to germinate outside with those temperatures. They want it to be below 80 degrees Fahrenheit to germinate well. So what can you do? In that case, you will want to start your seeds indoors under grow lights until temperatures have leveled off to 80 degrees or lower. Then feel free to put them out. If you think that sounds too expensive or too much work, I have another video. I will put a link up here and down below. I did a video for grow lights for every budget, literally every budget. So take a look at that. It doesn't have to be expensive, and that can help you out getting started. Another thing you can do is look at your upcoming forecast. Is there a week to a week and a half coming up where temperatures will be in that ideal range? If so, start them outdoors in that time span, and even if it heats up a bit after they're germinated, it's okay. It's just the germination that needs it to be at that ideal temperature of below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's the information you need on timing. I'm going to be starting some of my fall seeds indoors next week, so I'll have a video for that. If you learned something, please give the video a thumbs up, share with a gardening friend if you will, and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next time.